John D. Rockefeller was the son of William Rockefeller Sr., who had a bad reputation as a quack doctor, bigamist, and swindler, and later lived under a false identity. John D. Rockefeller founded Standard Oil. Through relentless expansion and monopolization, he at one point controlled over 90% of the U.S. oil market. He was the first dollar billionaire in U.S. history. Adjusted for inflation, that equals over $400 billion today. He was notorious for crushing competitors. The phrase "competition is a sin" is attributed to him, and whenever the opportunity arose, he drove rivals out of the market. At the same time, he founded universities and philanthropic foundations that still exist today. His name remains inseparably linked to the rise of the oil age. Today, the name Rockefeller is almost synonymous with wealthy people. Andrew Carnegie came to the U.S. as a poor immigrant from Scotland and built a vast steel empire. When he sold Carnegie Steel to J.P. Morgan in 1901, he received $480 million, an unimaginable sum at the time. Carnegie shaped the idea of the gospel of wealth, which says that the super-rich should accept their social responsibility. Carnegie donated more than $350 million in total, which equals about $12 billion today. Yet despite this generosity, Carnegie was heavily criticized. He was repeatedly accused of having a selective memory and of ignoring the darker sides of America and of his own business practices. It is said that he made millions from his steel mills, while dozens of exploited workers under his employ died. Cornelius Vanderbilt is considered a co-founder of America's financial boom period, the so-called Gilded Age. After the American Civil War, Vanderbilt invested in expanding the railway network and soon controlled the most important rail lines in the U.S. In 1873, he opened the first railway connection from New York to Chicago. When Cornelius died in 1877, he left behind a fortune that would amount to several billion today. Most of it went to his son William Henry, while his other children received far less. This led to a lawsuit over the inheritance, which William Henry won. William made his father's businesses even more profitable. Forbes magazine estimated that William Henry's fortune would equal more than $230 billion today. Cecil Rhodes was British, but he made his fortune in Africa. As a child, he suffered long from tuberculosis, and in 1870, at the age of 17, he was sent to South Africa to join his brother. Rhodes made millions from diamond and gold mines. He was responsible for the rise of De Beers, which remains the largest diamond producer in the world today. Rhodes is seen as a symbol of imperialism. He dreamed of a British empire stretching from Cape Town to Cairo. The states of Northern Rhodesia and Southern Rhodesia were named after him, corresponding roughly to today's Zambia and Zimbabwe. His legacy remains controversial, caught between colonial exploitation and also the promotion of education. That is because he also founded the famous Rhodes Scholarships, which still exist today and allow outstanding students to study at the University of Oxford. Meyer Guggenheim was born in Switzerland and came to the United States as a young man. He began as a simple immigrant and at first experienced only a slow rise through many different business ventures. He only came into great wealth when he was already over 40 years old. A silver mine that Meyer Guggenheim acquired in 1881 laid the foundation for a powerful mining corporation that at times controlled up to 80% of the world's production of copper, silver, and lead. His sons carried on the family empire and also made the Guggenheims world-renowned patrons of the arts. The famous Guggenheim museums remain today a symbol of the interplay between industry and culture. Joseph Pulitzer was born in Hungary, but his mother was German. At the age of 17, he unsuccessfully applied to the Austrian Army, the French Foreign Legion, and the British Army. But despite these fails, he did not give up. Eventually, he managed to enlist in the U.S. Union Army, arriving in Boston in 1864. There, he served in the 1st New York Cavalry Regiment until the end of the Civil War. After the war, he built a powerful press empire. His newspapers became famous for the Yellow Press, which refers to sensationalist journalism. However, Pulitzer was also interested in investigative journalism and high-quality articles. His greatest legacy is the Pulitzer Prize, which remains today the most important award for journalists worldwide. Nicholas II, the last Tsar of Russia, possessed the enormous family fortune of the Romanov dynasty. His exact wealth is difficult to quantify. He held his wealth due to his control over a vast empire and its resources, including a significant portion of Russia's land and riches. In 2019, the BBC estimated that Nicholas Alexandrovich Romanov may have been the 7th richest person in human history, with a fortune that today would amount to over $300 billion. After the Russian Revolution, he lost everything. In 1918, he and his family were executed by the Bolsheviks. His downfall paved the way for the Soviet Union. Today, he is regarded in Russia partly as a martyr, partly as a symbol of the failure of monarchy. On August 20th, 2000, Nicholas and his family were canonized by the Russian Orthodox Church. It is often forgotten that John D. Rockefeller had a younger brother, 2 years his junior, who also achieved immense wealth. William Rockefeller was a co-founder of Standard Oil. At the company's founding in 1870, he owned 13% of the business. As he sold off portions of his shares in the following years, his stake gradually fell to 4%. Within Standard Oil, William worked more in the background as financial chief, later pursuing his own ventures and investing in banks and railroads. He controlled the National City Bank, which eventually evolved into today's Citibank. William Rockefeller was enormously successful as a stock market speculator. He pulled off a unique coup. With virtually no capital investment, he and his partners took over the shares of Amalgamated Copper and sold them just a few weeks later for a profit of $36 million. He was one of the most successful stock speculators of the 19th century, but compared to his brother, he is largely forgotten.